How was your weekend, John?
Yeah, that was last weekend. It's Thursday now. It's just about to begin.
What a question on a Thursday.
Yeah.
It's Thursday already.
It's been put to bed. Yeah. I've had a very productive week.
You went to Sisyphos.
Oh.
Last weekend,
That's right. Yeah.
I did a proper weekend. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I went into.
You never used to go to clubs.
No,
Very strange.
Is it your
behavior.
girlfriend that is pulling you to these clubs?
all right, so
Okay.
let's get this party started.
All right, never mind the festival.
Yeah. This is our own little festival. So we're here at Clang Games
Hello.
with myself and Ava, myself,
And Mundi.
Hello.
Clang CEO and our executive producer. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited to finally get to be interviewed by you guys. I know we did that at a cafe in London that was very noisy. And I was
in a pub.
bit tipsy, actually.
Yeah, that tends to happen in pubs.
Now I'm starkly sober. It's so early in the morning.
Perfect. We wanted to start off by asking you why you wanted to make a podcast, specifically one called The Life Cycle about the future of humanity.
Wow, you're really throwing me in the deep end here at the start.
While you're sober.
I mean, of course, number one, I just always loved podcasts, and I think they're a great delivery device of good ideas and deep conversations. I think, more importantly, what we are building, Seed, is a very ambitious simulation of humanity, and I think there's a certain responsibility almost in doing that, and making sure that we are doing the correct research and we are talking to the experts, taking inspiration from the right places, being really smart, inspiring our staff with those conversations. So I think both what the podcast has done is given us access to people we never would have had otherwise. You know, now of course, like you guys having an interview with the Ether people, for example, or Ether.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how would we ever have gotten in there and talked
Right.
about the future of energy and
And they actually wanted to talk to us about computer games, but that's maybe
exactly. So
But what we're going to do today is look back at some of the topics and some of the people who we've come across and interrogated, and maybe see what they've done since, because now this is the third season, right, of the life cycle. So it's very exciting to be back after 2 seasons and quite a number of years. Okay, so as we begin the new season, let's take our gazes back and discuss some of the topics that we've looked at. So I think, like, obviously, if we cast our minds all the way back, both times in 2 seasons, we've always talked about the end of the world, the apocalypse. This season, we've gotten you in instead. And I guess it's kind of like, do you remember, like, why we chose the apocalypse as a topic? I mean, because you were there in the conversations as our executive producer, and obviously we had no idea that we would all kind of I was about to say cosplay the apocalypse, but that's very disrespectful. But we all are traumatized after COVID-19. It kind of was our own version of the apocalypse. Why the apocalypse, do you think?
I mean, I think that, the future of humanity, the first question you ask, like, is there a future for humanity, right? And so I think it was our way to just kind of explore that concept as it is a very possible future of humanity as an apocalypse.
Yeah.
I think even now, more scaringly than COVID, there's, geopolitical turmoil, leading to a lot of discussions around the nuclear winter or nuclear apocalypse. That's even way more scary. I feel like we didn't even get there, but maybe that'll be the first episode of season 4.
Right.
But that's the ultimate apocalypse.
I mean,
scare.
I feel like what we sort of like noticed, and I think we did that in the last season when we talked about the apocalypse again, was that it seems like anytime there is like a sort of apocalypse that happens, like COVID, life somehow still carries on. So it's never really like the end. It's like we've already had like hundreds of apocalypses sci.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
and things just carry on anyway.
I mean, I think it's like we're always like it's always about us destroying ourselves in some way. I mean, I feel like what COVID proved is that once there is a common enemy for all of humanity, everybody it was actually quite remarkable how the entire human race almost took a turn and changed their ways and found a solution altogether. So I do think that was a really good sign. I think like if you think about the human hive mind, it's like the thing that is smarter than every individual human. I mean, and we see that throughout every form of life almost. Like if you look at an ant farm, it's constructed like, some masterful architects have built it with all of their air ventilation systems and garbage disposal systems and stuff that like an ant wouldn't be able to construct or design in a million years of evolution. But in a very similar way, like no single human could, make an iPhone, for example, right? So as a collective mind, we do produce more complicated things and more advanced things that we could do as individuals. So there is this emergent, and I don't know, I have some faith in that hive mind being smart enough to kind of like almost, we are almost like physically incapable of doing certain things, like I think maybe pressing the nuclear, missile button. It's almost like I do feel like the hive mind would almost just like physically stop you. Mm. And we are really constructed and controlled by this hive mind. And even if you separate a human from human society, and you just kind of isolate them, even though you give them all the food and shelter and whatever they need, they'll still die in a few months just from the isolation.
Right.
And so we're very connected to this, and we're very like physically connected to it. Mm-hmm. Multiple reasons.
Well, that kind of one of the from season 1, one of the people that we interviewed was Dr. Phil Kennedy.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Just to recap, he's a neurologist who infamously, or famously, I feel like maybe more infamously, implanted a self-made neuron recording device into his own head, which he had to do in Belize because he wasn't allowed to do it in the United States. And it left him with a dented skull and some nerve damage on one side of his face. But the goal was essentially to establish a connection between his motor cortex and a computer. And he's based in Atlanta, which is where I visited him, and passionate about helping people with locked-in syndrome communicate better. Essentially, his goal is to create a brain interface that translates thoughts into words, right?
Yeah.
And recently, since actually, there's been a documentary released on him, but we were there first.
Yes.
But brain implants, I mean, recently they've gotten a lot of attention again because of Elon Musk's company.
Yep.
And they implanted the first human with their implant in January.
Yeah, he's off to the races playing computer games all the time.
But now there's been issues because some of the, like I think just a couple days ago, it turned out that some of the electrodes detached from the patient's brain tissue.
Oh.
So there's still like a really long way to go.
Right.
As I feel like always it's like there's this amazing idea and it just takes like forever and ever and ever, to actually come into that like sci-fi realization that it starts out with. And I guess we were wondering if you see a future for brain implants in terms of everyday use outside of like medical reasons.
I mean, that is the goal of Neuralink. It is, of course, like a huge market. First, like that Phil Kennedy episode was, of course, one of the best ones. So if you haven't heard that, I highly recommend it. Yeah, I mean, I think, of course, there's this question whether computers, like how they are becoming more and more and a bigger and bigger part of our lives. And with AI now, like there's a scary notion of like them kind of completely taking over. So one argument is that this is the only way to really kind of stay at some kind of eye to eye with that situation. But yeah, I mean, we if you rewind 100 years, like we never thought we would have even cell phones So if we fast forward 100 years, I mean, and the way things are going and the changes in population and technology growth, it's really hard to predict those things. But it's definitely not out of the picture. And as you start to, I mean, humans do crazy shit to become more capable, whether it's working out until they look like some bred cow, or like just train and learn, and like that I can see that, like, somebody's going to do it just to be smarter and better with computers, and then they're going to accelerate, and then they'll inspire others to do it, and that's how it starts, right? So
could you see yourself like in 60 years, like in a rocking chair on your porch with some like a brain chip, like looking at the memories of your past?
I mean, in many ways, I'm excited about technology as a solution to very aspirational kind of goals, like being old and playing computer games. I think would be great. But like even more than that, if you think about our dreams of going to the stars, it just looks like space is just so big that we probably never will. But what we will be able to do is to create anything we can imagine virtually. Whether that is traveling the universe or not, we'll be able to simulate all that. So I think we'll get really close to that fantasy via virtual and digital methodologies.
Can I jump in there with the whole the notion of simulation also came up in the first season, and we had kind of two related episodes called The Zoo and The Simulation, which was, I guess, kind of looking at the Fermi paradox. Fermi's also a long-running friend of the podcast, Enrico.
Yes.
We mention him way too often.
Yeah, he's always popping up. And the Fermi paradox and the simulation hypothesis. Actually, since season 2, I read The Sea of Tranquility by one of my favorite novelists, Emily St. John Mandel, and she's kind of a literary fiction novelist, but she always kind of steals a little bit from sci-fi, from the tropes and stuff. So she had this beautiful novel, or kind of her take on the simulation hypothesis. So again, like, I guess, what have you come across any good uses of the simulation hypothesis in culture that you like since we've last talked, since season 2? Or do you think it's?
I mean, it's very close to home, of course. Like that's what we're trying to do here at Klang, and often there are these eerie moments when, like one piece of simulation theory is that you wouldn't have to simulate everything. The simulation just kind of fills into where you look. So there isn't any like one element of that is that under the rock there isn't anything until you pull up the rock, and then it instantly simulates behind it. And we do a lot of tricks like that in computer games. And I remember when we were doing our first forest in Seed, and every tree has to grow, and so it became very computationally heavy to simulate the entire forest. And so one of our leading engineers, Rainer, he kind of showed me this new trick that he had come up with, where he would basically switch out the tree if you interacted with it. And as I had been nerding out about simulation theory, that gave me a little bit of a vertigo, because I was like, oh, that's probably how it works in reality too.
Hey, I don't understand. He would switch. What do you mean?
So the tree was just a kind of a dead object that looks like a tree.
Yeah.
But only if you start chopping it, it got instantly replaced by like a functional tree that actually had all of the the interactability it needed. So
which is an age-old philosophical theory. Idealism is where we get the classic, I guess it's almost a cliche, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to see it, does it exist?
Exactly.
Do things exist in and of themselves? Or do we actually make them exist? This goes all the way back. Immanuel Kant was like worrying about this in Prussia and Königsberg, way before simulation theory and computer games. So it's a very, very human idea that, of course, is very human-centric somehow. Like, if our perceptions need to exist to give things.
I mean, which leads to the observer and like the whole quantum physics piece, where like we actually seem to have some kind of an effect by observing things, which is a bit of a stretch of the term, but like there is something that happens with just observing things, and so that's also
real.
that kind of like interacts with it, and that also is something that we do a lot in games, where like you can see the in games, the camera of the character
Yeah.
is what turns everything on. And behind this, everything it just disappears. And so as soon as the character turns
Oh my
around,
God, so the
it all
next
gets
time-
turned on.
The next time I'm alone in a room,
If you look
I'm gonna be like,
around fast enough,
wait a minute, nobody's looking at me. Wait, does furniture count? If furniture is like, can furniture make me real?
Can you
does
make
it
furniture
take?
real?
What does it take to make me real?
well, I guess it goes all the way back to Dante. You know, there's no other way to put it, right?
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna.
You could be the real one, and we're just the fake ones. We're just a fake
I mean, I'm
fragmentation of
obviously
your.
real.
That's exactly what
I know I am.
real person would say.
Exactly what a fake person would say. Yeah. Another one of my favorite episodes was one called Synthetic Vice, where we discovered mind-altering alternatives to traditional alcohol. And we talked to Professor Nutt, who developed a drink called Sentia, which is one of those non-alcoholic alcohol beverages.
I'm waiting for this to blow up.
I know.
Bars.
And
When
well, this
this
is what I want to
happening?
ask you about. I know. Like, why isn't it blowing up? Because it's kind of perfect because it gives you like the to drink buzz, right?
Exactly.
Which is like all anybody's ever after,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And it's just capped. And then there's no hangover because there are no toxins, but you still get that sort of like social feeling and maybe feel a bit
like
more
the perfect drink.
talkative.
It doesn't taste perfect yet. Maybe
does-
that's the.
But there's
doesn't
lots,
taste bad.
It doesn't taste
so bad. No, it
it's
does
like-
not.
it's
I mean,
like the
alcohol tastes
Campari
bad. I
vibe.
mean, we should just like it's probably an acquired taste. Like
Yeah.
who actually likes whiskey? Okay, no.
Well, but this
you're
is
really
because-
angry with me now. I do like whiskey actually, but I think it's more of a like.
No, we all remember tasting alcohol for the first time.
Yeah.
As
You know, it's really depressing.
adults.
Actually, this is just kind of like as a side fact. You know how like kids are always like so mind blown by tastes, right?
Yeah.
And we just our taste buds just get worse and worse and worse.
I feel
right?
like whenever
And that's why we start liking foods like cheeses and things like
Right.
that. Which
Spicy.
But
kids just
children
don't
love
like.
beer though. That I've always seen.
How do you know that?
I always give children beer. No.
How would you know?
I've seen like a child grab a bottle of beer and start drinking, and the mom just like just managing to like, pull it out of their hands. And I remember my father is having like he saw me at some point, very young age, grab a bottle of beer and really chug
Yeah.
away. I don't think a child would do that with a bottle of whiskey or vodka, but
No, that's true.
beer, I think.
Yeah.
But I think there's an era then you don't like it when you're like a bit older. But as a toddler, I think you like beer.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Toddlers are also like beer drinkers a bit, like how they walk around.
and just they're generally just kind of, yeah, I know what you mean. Is like so how do you feel about these non-alcoholic drinks?
Exciting, yeah,
But
exciting.
you don't drink them.
I just don't like. I don't where to. I should do more active. I think it's a matter of like readily available and quantity. They're also quite expensive still.
Yeah,
No?
they are pretty expensive.
But don't save money on health. So my grandma always said.
Health is wealth.
So I feel like certainly since the start of the Life Cycle podcast, but in the middle of season 2, generative AI kind of exploded, right? So we kind of took a moment there to look at that. So we had like Evans Thomas from Clang talk to us about his work with AI.
Great!
And
He's amazing.
Yeah, you should go back and listen to the episode. It's really good. But I think we've always been interested in artificial general intelligence. Like that,
Yes.
since I started at Clang, I was like told to go and read Max Tegmark and
I remember the Evans episode. What am I talking about? I thought you meant in the new season.
no, we. No,
Evans. I'm sorry, Evans. I love you. Cut this out.
so I mean, so putting generative AI just to the side for a second, we've always been interested in like artificial general intelligence at Clang because of various different reasons. Maybe you don't know if you want to go into them or not, or is this something that you're scared of in terms of? Actually, it was also in there in episode 7 of season 1, where we kind of looked at how maybe the internet could be used in a kind of a takeover scenario of a runaway evil AI overlord. But
I don't know. Of course, I've thought a lot about this, and I think I'm much more scared of irrational humans being like having their finger on like a nuclear button. That's the scariest thing for me. Like, I do think that in many ways, like I haven't seen any indication that if AI were to like kind of be able to become completely multimodal and generally intelligent, that it wouldn't be of a very high emotional intelligence as well. Like,
okay.
And so that's my optimistic view. Of course, there is a risk of it being some kind of evil machine that wants to kill all humans. I don't know. I find that to be a very extremely failed thing. That I don't know where it would have learned that. Like if all literature was only about machines gaining power from killing humans or something, maybe I would be more afraid. But I think most literature is. I think there's probably more something about like deep philosophy and the good of humans and
sure. But I guess it's just more it's actually the banal, like the kind of hyper intelligent stupidity of the paperclip hypothesis is what scares people. Is actually just like a.
But that's a very dumb AI.
Yeah, well,
it's like a very like you told me to make a paperclip, so I'm going to kill you all, right? Like it's like. Wouldn't it be, if it's general intelligence, be so much? It would be almost like a god, and you're like, God, they may just not care, but and often it's referred to like, if we want to construct something, like it's not like we're like out there to kill ants, but if we want to build a house on top of an ant farm, we would, but. We would just destroy the ant farm. And like, so similarly with the AI, like just consider us to be an absolute ant and just build a house on top of all of humanity or something that would just destroy all of humanity. It again, to me, is a bit too extreme. And I think if we created it, it would also recognize that, and if we were created by ants, you woke up and there are all these ants going like, we created you, and you wouldn't just start smashing the ant farm. I don't know.
Yeah, but you might clumsily step over and kill it. Like
sure, yeah, you may, but you wouldn't exterminate all of ants. Go on some wild. And what's most likelier to happen in an extermination would be the only way we fully exterminate humanity is by a nuclear holocaust, like nuclear. Mutually assured destruction kind of situation. And I think the only true way to fully block that from happening would be a generally intelligent AI.
Right. Okay.
So that's another twist on that.
Right.
So I think like, of course, I'm not like, not saying that there aren't any risks and that the AI good, but like I think there are more pros than cons.
Maybe you've answered, because we have a listener's question here from Thinking Apple 192. And they were asking, like, is the reason why we're interested in AGI and the apocalypse, is that the starting point for why humanity goes to Avesta in Seed?
That's a bit of we do actually work on the backstory together, John. So you could also answer. I don't know what we want to give away here. We've been working on that for years, so this is a bit of a.
Okay. No, it could be. It could be. We don't know. That's what.
Exactly. We don't know.
Listeners want to know. Okay.
But actually, funny that you bring that up because AI definitely plays a big role in the backstory of Seed.
Okay.
But I feel like we have a kind of a clever twist there.
But also, I guess, because I don't know if we've got time, but like it also plays a role in terms of the actual running of the game, right? Which I don't know if is as fun to talk about, but if you want to.
Yeah, we AI is featured in many ways in the game, not just that we use AI, but what the kind of player fantasy is and how the world is constructed. Like AI is it's a very AI themed concept for sure.
Right. But it's also super exciting, right? Because it's like we've been developing basically the perfect sandbox toolkit for generative AI.
Absolutely. Now that we've started to like what we built was a very scalable and kind of high performance AI, you could say. AI that is deterministic, meaning that like we can kind of predict the behavior of our characters really clearly. So like if a character is tired, we expect them to go to bed. With a generative AI, which it can be predictable, but it can hallucinate a lot, and it's a lot more harder to understand why it sometimes makes a decision and not another. But what we've been doing now is kind of weaving that together with our scalable and more performant AI with the LLMs or like large language models. And so now our characters can kind of, or like that AI can talk to our AI. And so it really works at scale. And again, Evans is leading the charts there. And the early prototypes are making us all here super excited. So I think we kind of stumbled into making the perfect platform for generative AI to be injected into, because we did not expect this to happen during the development of Seed. I mean that's again, like I feel like Seed actually being a reality is the most serendipitous. Like we should talk about that sometime. But the level, the amount of like just coincidences and stars aligning kind of moments in its journey to becoming real have been way too many. So it's now obviously feels kind of surreal almost that we only have a year left until we go into early access.
Yeah,
Exciting.
very exciting.
But again, I would say this is another one of those moments.
We had a fun time in London together interviewing Dort Mutsuyayev, who features in season 2 with her clone dog, and she was really informative. She educated us a lot about the future of cloning. So, do you think that it's like an adjacent topic? It actually is an adjacent topic to fertility, which we look at in season 3, which we're going to maybe just touch upon with fertility and living life extension and things like these kind of questions around, I guess you could say death and rebirth, which is in our name, right? The Life Cycle Podcast. Do you have any thoughts on cloning, maybe specifically to do with Seed or again, like why you might be interested in it?
I think like for humans, there's something like eerie about it that I think, is the reason why we haven't accelerated more in human cloning. I think cloning humans has a number of kind of, implications that could be, organ growth and stuff like that I know many rich people would love to get. But with this, even with all the richdom, it still seems to be
taboo.
Absolute taboo, right? So that is interesting. I think for animals, I mean, we are already, at full swing there, cloning horses and cloning cows and cloning.
Have been for centuries in one way or another.
Yeah. So that's like, it is in full motion there. I think it's so taboo we don't talk about it or think about it or even know about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't have no idea.
Yeah, it's a huge industry for breeding reasons. So it is a just a fascinating topic, and I think it was just, of course, amazing when I ran into Dorrit at some cocktail party first, many years ago in London. She used to actually buy my clothes back in Iceland when I used to make fashion. So she remembered who I was, and we totally hit it off right away. I didn't expect her to actually, and so we had a bit of a small talk, and then I asked, because we were already started the production of the podcast, and we were kind of holding those glasses of champagne. I was like, so is it true that you're cloning your dog? And she was very frank about it. Like, yes, absolutely. And she was then running a second cloning initiative because, like, quoting her, she was like, the first bitch died. And I thought it was so uncomfortable listening to her say the word bitch over and over again. But then, of course, a bitch, like, because it was the dog.
A female dog.
It was a female.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a female dog. And she's like, the first bitch died. with all of the clone babies inside of her. I was like, that is so brutal. And I thought it was also to kind of rejuvenate the life of her dying dog, but she actually just really wanted to have it in both in London and Iceland. It's really hard to travel with your dog into Iceland because there's such what they call quarantine they have to go into and stuff. So instead of going through all of that hassle, she thought, why don't I just clone the dog and have it in both places?
I think she omitted that from.
Yeah, I think she did mention that.
No, that wasn't mentioned. No.
I thought that was
maybe a tad more controversial. What's interesting when you say it's like so eerie, though, is that in this upcoming season.
Yeah, let's move on to this season.
So it's not about cloning really, but I went to talk to this scientist in Cambridge about cell rejuvenation, and he's developing, he's trying to crack the code on how to reset our cells to zero, basically. And this is going to be, he's like, this is definitely, this is happening. It's like a matter of, like, he thinks it'll take 2 years until it's cracked.
No.
Basically, yeah.
2 years? Jesus
Yeah, so if you're
Christ.
super, super rich in 2 years, you could probably... But in our lifetime...
You heard it here first.
Brian Johnson, here I come.
But in our lifetimes, this will... He thinks will be, like, available just on normal health services, you know, like it will be like instead of getting cancer treatment or some sort of age-related disease treatment, you would just get this injection probably that would reset your cells. And he even was talking about like how, imagine a future where like hospitals are just shut because there's just no...
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Like there'll only be emergency rooms for accidents and whatever, that stuff you can't prevent, but preventative, especially age-related diseases, will just be non-existent essentially.
Wow! And all of these nice AIDS homes for all the old people are just going to be empty.
Yeah,
there's nobody.
They're just going to be empty.
Hey, free real estate.
Grab it now while you can. But he also said like that, which I thought was so interesting, that apparently, I mean, I don't know if this is true. Obviously, I haven't researched this, but he said that technically cloning is easier to do, with humans. Like you could like grow a different version of you, now have it on standby. And then when you get old, like that would be a lot easier to attain than this cell rejuvenation technology. But because it's just so eerie and like creepy, people just don't want to do that. So it's just kind of,
Yeah, we made so many horrible sci-fi films about
It's
cloning.
creepy though.
Yeah, it is creepy.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it comes down to consciousness too, because we haven't really...
Yeah.
Can you clone your own...
If you could physically take your brain and put it in the other
That's what he
new
said.
body.
It would be, you would put it in the new body. So it would be...
What would you do with a cloned brain, though? You put that in your dying body, have a little kind of idiot
Maybe
part
I wouldn't
of yourself.
have a brain. Maybe I don't know.
It would be like, like a child waking up in an old body.
It's already just so. It is just so creepy. It's just so creepy. Horrible. No, I much prefer the cell rejuvenation thing.
Yeah, that sounds a bit less creepy for sure. Wow, that's interesting that he's so bullish. I feel like there's many doctors in the life extension biohacking sphere that are starting to come out, and they're almost like trying to be as controversial, more controversial than the last, saying we're going to live forever tomorrow. It's always shorter and shorter in time. So I wonder who's right, and it still has to be proven to me.
I mean, I was like, if you're talking to somebody who like seems so measured and like. Just very fact. Like it all seemed very fact based.
It's a fascinating.
And then you're like, okay, I guess. We're gonna live forever.
All right. Well, listen, we've got like only a short time left, so should we look ahead towards some other episodes in season 3, or what do you?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of already on the topic of fertility.
Yes.
Having kids and stuff like that. That's going to be... I learned so much during making these episodes.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear it.
It was really, really interesting, especially like talking to Jennifer Garrison, who's a doctor in San Francisco, and she's working on delaying ovarian aging in women to sync up aging of women's reproductive organs, which she wants to call productive organs, not reproductive, because it's limiting, because they do more than that.
That's true. That's true.
And sync that up with aging of the rest of a woman's body, because that's so out of sync compared to men, where it's relatively linear.
Right, yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's really interesting. And we also talked to Caroline, who had that was like a very personal episode, she's undergone like 4 years of fertility treatments and struggles and trying to have a baby, which she does have now. So it's a happy ending.
Wow.
But yeah, that was really nice to have like a personal...
It's an amazing episode. Savita joins us and really kind of gives us a lot, certainly me, a lot of basically education about all these topics that I've just... almost blasé, didn't really know about, which is basically all aspects of modern contemporary reproduction and fertility. So that's super fun, super moving, and super informative episode all at once.
Amazing.
And then food.
Yeah, and then like obviously we look at thinking of how to feed like a growing world population and one that doesn't ruin our environment at the same time is a massive conundrum, right? Ultra processed food, so called, is I think a bit of a hot topic at the moment, and again something that was once the future. It's relatively young, so we're all taking part in what our guest in.
I'm all about genetically engineering plants and stuff to be more resilient against pests and stuff like that. But yeah, the ultra processed stuff.
How are you with ultra processed foods? Are you like conscious of not eating them, or?
Well, John has definitely given me the fear.
Yeah.
So now I try.
I know it's like the first thing you start talking about, and you see him.
I don't prohibit anything or judge anybody. I just spread knowledge.
It's true. I've also started cooking more. COVID, like that cooking was a big part of staying in at your own house so much. So I was forced into that, and it's delightful sport.
Yeah. Very well put. I think cooking is an amazing...
Yeah.
And I did read David Sinclair's lifespan, which is also a very calculated longevity doctor that sounds very convincing. And then, I don't know, the more I look into some of his stuff, I'm not so sure it's all. But it was definitely like motivating towards being a healthier. And yeah, it's really hard if you're going to eat all of those. It's like a random assortment of letters in the ingredients of what you eat.
It's true. Like cooking is a really easy way to avoid it.
Yeah.
To avoid eating ultra-processed foods.
And also like even restaurants obviously will use unhealthier cooking methods because they don't care about your health. They care about how addicted you are to coming back.
Yeah.
As do any food producers, right? So they're very incentivized to not drive up, the health.
Sure.
That you feel good, it looks healthy, sure. But is it actually healthy? Probably.
Well, hopefully that's why our episode is really like hopefully informative. And I think it's like, it's like an ongoing debate. And I think the best thing is for people to just make up their own minds and listen to our episode. God damn it!
Yeah. But I think in many ways it's like anything to do with biology and health in that way. It's just it's all so long. You're doing stuff on a daily basis that's gonna result in you being healthier in 30 years. Like that's always a hard topic, right? You can't really. There's no winners in a argument there, but studies obviously do suggest stuff.
We also get friend of the podcast and friend of Clang and your friend Professor Lawrence Lessig on season 3. We have a really fun talk about democracy and the internet, and I think that's really engaging.
He's big on AI also. I mean, he's also. I wouldn't say he's a doomsday AI person, but he did do a TED talk. That must be in the episode. We actually went to it and recorded it. It was amazing and very eye-opening. We did have the same kind of discussion about maybe AI can save us. He was like, yeah, maybe. But obviously nobody's sure. In his TED talk, definitely wasn't it wasn't clear. It looked more grim then. But he talks about like corporations being like analog AIs because they have that autonomous behavior. There's nobody really in control of a big
Yes.
publicly traded.
And that kind of is connected also to the food episode because the food companies are necessarily kind of driven by profit. They act almost like an AGI, a mini AGI in their own sense, where they're just focused on one thing. And so individuals would be like, oh, but let's actually not damage people's
It's
house.
so uncool. Like, I'm actually like, how could you do this to me personally? It's like personal,
Yeah. Well, that's
like, why are you doing this to me?
But I think like that's why we
so mean.
Well, that's why we have these like Netflix episode series about like OxyContin, and we try and understand the Sackler family as individuals because like we're like, wait, why is this whole company full of salespeople, reps, managing directors? There's like thousands of people involved. Why would they all decide to do? But they're kind of
It's the hive mind,
It's the hive mind.
but in a negative way. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, it's a really, really exciting season. I think it's like kind of builds on all the previous seasons, and it's really kind of fun to get you to justify why we're doing it all.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This was really fun. And I can't wait to hear the new season.